As we talked about earlier, economists will also be watching next week's retail sales numbers to see how consumer spending is faring in a slowing economy. When consumers are hesitant to buy, businesses need to go out and find their customers. A lot of that is done through social media, which brings us to today's installment of our series, My Economy.
My name is Danielle Ruttenberg. I'm the co-founder of Remark Glass, located at the Bach Building in South Philadelphia. So Remark Glass started as a creative enterprise looking at bottle glass as a source rather than trash and seeing what we could do by heating it up and transforming the bottles into new shapes and sizes. I do have a glassblowing background. I went to the Tyler School of Art and I got really excited about the fire aspect of that. And once I got into the hot shop, I never really stepped out of there. Pre-COVID, we were definitely still doing a lot of the, in-person markets. And with the shift in COVID, we took the opportunity to redo our website and see if we could strengthen the online sales. We saw an immediate uptick. Everything about it was working for us right away. We went from netting $7,000 in second quarter, like 2022, to netting over $54,000 in second quarter of this year. The flip side of that and the challenge that comes with social media boom and e-commerce boom is the serious amount of customer service and constant communication that comes alongside that. So while I have kind of a team in place that's making stuff 9 to 5, my communications team, which myself included, we're a little bit more 24/7. I try to make us be sane about it. We have some automated messages to say, hey, we're a small team. Let's be real. We'll get back to you in some human amount of time. But I have a team of 18 people and only 3 of them have access to being on that DM for customers. And it's pretty constant. Being a really handmade business, what's also a challenge for me is that I think people have a certain expectation looking at one picture that everything's going to be the same all the time. And we try to be really clear that this is a handmade process. This is something that somebody has touched every time. So I think that's a really interesting dynamic to kind of approach and make sure that the way that we present and represent our brand can encapsulate that notion of handmade and unique qualities so that people can appreciate it.
Danielle Ruttenberg of Remark Glass in South Philadelphia. Remember, we can't do this series without you. So if you've got something to say about your economy, let us know at marketplace.org. Coming up.
I'm in America. I want to be a doctor.
That follows, I guess. But first, let's do the numbers. The Dow Jones Industrial Average lifted 43 points, 0.1%, to finish at 33,876. The NASDAQ expanded 20 points, 0.2%, to close at 13,259. And the S&P 500 improved 4 points, also 0.1%, to end at 4298. For the week, the Dow added 0.3%, the NASDAQ gained 0.1%, S&P 500 went up 0.4%. We heard from Stephanie Hughes about Americans' credit card debt. Let's check up on some related companies. Visa increased 0.2%, American Express ticked up 0.3%, and MasterCard grew 0.5%. Bonds fell. The yield on the 10-year T-note rose to 3.74%. You're listening to Marketplace.
Marketplace is supported by DTN, with operational intelligence designed to eliminate decision dead zones, improve efficiency, and help mitigate risks as the global business landscape shifts. Learn more at dtn.com/OI. And by Raymond James, a firm focused on transforming lives, businesses, and communities through tailored wealth management, banking, and capital markets solutions. Disclosures at raymondjames.com. And by This Is Uncomfortable, hosted by Rima Krayas from Marketplace. In the latest season, Rima explores unconventional earning and how it can affect us. Listen as they talk about life and how money messes with it, wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Ed German. Join me on Friday nights for Friday Night Soul here on 88.3 FM WLIW and WLIW.org/radio for the best in soul, Latin soul, disco, and old school hip hop. That's Friday at 8 p.m. at 88.3 WLIW FM and WLIW.org/radio, Long Island's only NPR station.
This is Marketplace. I'm Amy Scott. We in economic journalism spend a fair amount of time talking about business plans that fail. Call it our version of if it bleeds, it leads, I suppose. But today we want to call attention to a strategy that seems to have succeeded. You might remember when Netflix started cracking down on password sharing a couple weeks back by charging users who share accounts from different households and limiting the number of users on individual accounts. The analytics firm Antenna says that in the days following that switch, Netflix saw a big jump in new customers. Marketplace's Lily Jamali has more.
The last time Netflix saw a spike in subscribers anything like this was at the start of the pandemic, says Brendan Brady of Antenna, which has been keeping track since 2019.
We've seen that the bump is actually bigger than the bump that they got during COVID in terms of new signups.
Cancellations spiked too, but Netflix more than offset the losses by racking up 100,000 signups per day in the last week of May.
Which is a lot for such a mature service.
In Philadelphia, Fred Price and his girlfriend get Netflix from her family.
I don't actually pay the bill. Her mother pays the bill.
To keep sharing, she's paying an extra $7.99 a month.
She updated the plan, and that's what we've been doing. So it's working out fine.
Netflix said in February it was cracking down because sharing was hurting its ability to, quote, invest in great new TV and films. This is the same company that tweeted, "Love is sharing a password" 6 years ago. Ayelet Fishback of the University of Chicago thinks this was the plan all along.
Giving streaming basically for free to many people, get people hooked.
But other streaming services might not be able to follow Netflix's lead, says NYU Stern marketing professor Paul Hardart.
I think they'd like to. I'm not sure they have the leverage. They want people to try their product and use it and see utility in it and then be willing to pay. And a lot of them aren't there yet.
Despite Netflix's success, some customers still aren't sure they want to pay.
I think the content on Netflix is worse than the content on Hulu and HBO.
Taryn Dalius of Philadelphia currently uses her aunt's Netflix account and shares her own HBO Max subscription in exchange.
I have a busy life. I want to have something on in the background while I'm also shopping.
Dalius says the password crackdown hasn't come up yet. She doesn't want to think about it until she has to. I'm Lily Jamali for Marketplace.
Healthcare providers around the country are grappling with a shortage of nurses, and it could get worse. A recent survey found that nearly a third of nurses are likely to leave the profession because of the hardships of the pandemic. To address the shortage, the healthcare industry is trying to recruit more people to become nurses who make, on average, a little more than $70,000 a year. Marketplace's Elizabeth Troval looks at one university program in Houston, Texas.
In a brightly lit room staged to look like somebody's living room, nursing student Mawada Muhammad takes the blood pressure of a patient named Freddie.
So I'm going to go ahead and place this cuff right on your left arm here.
Freddie's a mannequin, but he's no dummy. Freddie can talk, breathe, blink, sweat, and has a pulse. Today, he's dealing with a new colostomy pouch. It's attached to the digestive tract outside of stomach to collect poop.
How are you feeling today? I see that you have a new colostomy placed, and how are you feeling about it?
He responds. Well, actually, it's a faculty member using a microphone who's observing from a control room.
How am I supposed to live with this thing?
This simulation of a home health visit may give off the vibes of a high school theater production, but it's a crucial part of nursing education. It gives students as real-life experience as possible before they enter their hard-to-find clinical rotations, which require overworked nurses to allow students to shadow them at work.
Training the students, giving them experiences in a safe environment is what simulation is about.
Catherine Tart is founding dean of the Andy and Barbara Gessner College of Nursing. We're at this new University of Houston facility, which opened in 2019. The school has an entire hospital wing filled with mannequins like Freddie, and it's ramping up capacity.
The space was designed for 240 students, and right now we are right at 80. So we're growing.
Growing because of university funding, donations, and private gifts that helped build the new facility, fund scholarships, and endowed professorships. Serena Bumpus, CEO of the Texas Nurses Association, says creating new slots for students is critical because
in Texas, on average, we turn away about 20,000 qualified applicants a year from our nursing schools because we don't have enough clinical faculty and we don't have enough clinical space to train them.
Hoping to become part of the solution is nurse and University of Houston student Ryan Moore. He's pursuing his Master's of Science in Nursing to become an educator.
My passion is really for community college because that's where I started.
As a first-generation college student, he says it was his professors who encouraged him to get his associates, bachelor's, and now master's.
If I can help to inspire others and encourage them, even if they come from difficult circumstances like I did, then I really am excited about that opportunity.
But Moore is among a diminishing group of students interested in nursing education. Enrollment in nursing master's and PhD programs nationwide is declining, meaning fewer nurses are trying to become educators. That's why Bumpus advocates for more government funding so nurses can get advanced degrees. The Texas legislature recently passed a bill that helps would-be nursing faculty with their student loans. Bumpus also says more should be done to improve faculty pay.
Faculty do not get paid as much as a nurse in practice.
Bumpus says another way to bolster the nursing pipeline is through the creation of more scholarships and financial aid opportunities, which has helped nursing student Mawada Muhammad, who came to the U.S. from Egypt as a kid.
I always knew I wanted to be a doctor. I'm in America. I want to be a doctor. But then as I grew, my dad, he actually had a heart attack.
It was her dad's nurse who Muhammad saw most.
She was always there. She always helped my dad. And I saw that one-to-one connection that a doctor wouldn't really have. And it just kind of just drew me into nursing.
Muhammad will be the first healthcare worker in her family. She receives thousands of dollars in scholarships from a foundation connected to the University of Houston.
I'm very lucky to not have to have worked during this program, and I don't think I would be able to do that without this scholarship, honestly.
Many students like her are drawn to the profession because of their desire to help others, but not everyone can afford it. In Houston, I'm Elizabeth Trovald for Marketplace.
This final note on the way out today, it's a good time to be a teenager looking for a summer job. Axios reports that U.S. average hourly wages for 15 to 19-year-olds rose to $14.89 in May, up more than 40% from 3 years ago. That's according to the payroll company Gusto. Teens are expected to make up 18% of all hires this summer, compared to just 2% at the start of summer in 2019. Before the pandemic, teen employment had been falling for decades, but with the tight labor market and higher wages, the trend has reversed. The industries hiring the most teens, Gusto says, include sports and recreation, food and beverage, and education. Can't help but remember my first summer job watering trees at a nursery for, let's say, a lot less than $14.89 an hour.
Marketplace is supported by Progressive Insurance. Customers can simplify their insurance needs and protect what's important by bundling home and auto. Learn more about bundling at Progressive.com.
Here's your moment of economic context. The air out here in the mid-Atlantic is a lot clearer today, but the costs of increased air pollution from wildfires will linger. Researchers at Stanford estimate a single day of smoke exposure reduces quarterly earnings by about 0.1%, a cost on average of $125 billion a year. Our theme music was composed by B.J. Liederman. Marketplace's executive producer is Nancy Fergali. Donna Tam is the executive editor. Neil Scarborough is the vice president and general manager. And I'm Amy Scott. We will see you on Monday. This is APM.
Connect